Good afternoon and welcome to our Fall 2021. Good afternoon and welcome to our Fall 2021 Donor Appreciation event. My name is Maybelline Kruger and I am the Interim Provost and Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Roosevelt's Schaumburg campus. Thank you all for joining us today and for your continued support. On behalf of the university, we are immensely grateful for your generosity. Your support is the core of our success, positioning us to further invest in our students, faculty, academic programs, and student-centered services. Over the last year, Roosevelt's donors remain steadfast in supporting our students and mission during a time of great need. You are one of the 1,700 donors during the 2021 fiscal year. Your gifts allowed us to surpass our $5 million fundraising goal. Of that, $825,000 went toward our annual fund, with another $4.3 million in named and endowed gifts, providing annual and long-term support through scholarships, lectures, professorships, and strategic initiatives. You make a difference for our students. 4 out of 5 students received a university scholarship or grant during the 2020-21 academic year. More than $265,000 in gifts helped advance a new Black student initiative through scholarships, DEI programming, and campus events. I'm so proud of Roosevelt's unstoppable community of donors, and you should be too. Now, on to our panel. It's my pleasure to introduce our moderator and Roosevelt's Director of the Honors Program and Faculty Development Initiatives and Professor of Women's and Gender Studies, Dr. Marjorie Jolles. Marjorie, thank you for joining us today to moderate University Advancement's Fall 2021 Donor Appreciation event, recognizing Roosevelt's tremendous students and donors.
Thank you, Provost Kruger. Thank you. I am so glad to be here today to highlight our incredible students and to thank all of you, our donors, who support these students so generously. I direct Roosevelt's Honors Program, which is an academic program for undergraduate students seeking opportunities for advanced learning. Students in the Honors Program take small, specialized honors courses with uniquely challenging curriculum designed to push them to identify and explore their passions. Starting in their first semester as freshmen with Honors 101 and concluding in their final year with their honors senior thesis, honors students stretch their capacities for academic and personal growth. Outside the classroom, honors students gain one-on-one mentoring from faculty and their honors advisor. They travel to exciting locations for experiential learning. They present their work at professional conferences. They serve as paid research assistants to faculty, and they work in rarefied spaces like the Newberry Library. The Honors Program also organizes social and academic events for honors students to bond as a community, to support each other in their ambitious learning, and to grow as leaders on campus and in their communities. These enriching honors experiences allow for an advanced level of academic achievement that changes students' lives, opening up new possibilities for personal and professional success. When they graduate, students who complete the honors program earn an honors designation on their transcript, which they take with them into their lives as graduate students, professionals, and lifelong learners. We truly would not be able to provide these opportunities for honors students without your generous support. Our panelists today are current and former members of the Roosevelt Honors Program. I'd like to ask each panelist to briefly introduce themselves. Please tell us your name, your year at Roosevelt, and your academic discipline. Sariah?
Hi, I'm Sariah Bolden. I'm a senior at Roosevelt University, and I am double majoring in history and poli-sci, as well as minoring in women and gender studies.
Thank you. Jesus.
Hello, my name is Jesus. I'm a recent honors undergraduate and now first-year student in Roosevelt's doctoral program in clinical psychology.
Thank you. Grace.
Hi, my name is Grace Hahn. I am a junior here at Roosevelt University, and I am majoring in biochemistry and minoring in psychology.
Thank you. And before we begin the discussion, I want to mention to our audience that if you have questions for the panelists during the discussion, please type them in the chat because there will be time for Q&A. So I'd like to kick off the discussion with a general question about your beginnings at Roosevelt. Sariah, what about Roosevelt University initially piqued your interest and caused you to apply? What set Roosevelt apart?
So definitely I'm from Michigan, and so I wanted to get out of Michigan and attend college that's like somewhere else in a different environment. And so Roosevelt being in downtown Chicago was definitely one of the first things that attracted me. I thought that was super cool, like living downtown. And then definitely what set it apart for me in comparison to the other schools that I applied to and I got in was the fact that Roosevelt's like social justice mission is so forward because that is like a big part of my identity and who I am. So I really loved that was like such a big mission at Roosevelt.
That's great. Jesus.
Of course.
What's Roosevelt apart?
Sure thing. I came in as a transfer student, so I came here in my junior year after graduating from a community college. And so for me, it was always the psychology aspect. I've always envisioned myself going to graduate school in psychology, and so the research led me to Roosevelt. And then when I visited their open house and I learned about on the details of small classes, their buildings were pretty cool, and accessibility to transportation was great. It was like a no-brainer.
Wow, I love that. No brainer. Great. So, Grace, what has been your favorite Roosevelt experience so far and why?
My favorite Roosevelt experience has actually been within the honors program. Last year, I had to complete an honors contract in lieu of an honors course, and I was able to choose which course I was able to do that or to complete the contract with. And I was taking Biology 202 with one of our amazing professors, Dr. Cordero, and he has acted as a mentor to me for my going on 3 years here. And I was super interested in the material in his class, so I decided I would do the contract with him. And I never thought I'd like research. I definitely thought I was more of a hands-on. I want to go into the medical field, so I thought, oh, well, I'll just get through the research. It won't be something that I really enjoy, but I'll just get through it. And I learned to absolutely love the research I did with Dr. Cordero, and that was such a transformative experience. And without the honors program, I would never have had that opportunity. And I don't think I even would have dipped my toe in the water with research. So now it's something that I'm looking for opportunities to pursue. I did a research project over the summer with one of our other professors, Dr. Sizer, and it's led me to a whole new path I never knew existed. So that is definitely my favorite experience here.
I love hearing that. That is exactly what we strive for in the honors program. So, of course, we want to cater to students' interests. We want to provide what the learning that you ask for, but we also want to prompt you to try things that might not have occurred to you that you might discover you love. And that's a perfect example of that. It's also, I would say, a great example of the kind of close working relationships that honor students get to develop with the faculty at Roosevelt. That isn't accidental. We design it that way so that students work side by side with faculty and can start to see themselves as knowledge producers, just like their mentors are. Jesus, how about you? What has been your favorite Roosevelt experience so far and why?
Now, that's a very tough question, Marjorie, but if I were to think of one scenario, I'd imagine that it was during the fall of 2020 when I was a part of the Honors Leadership Council, when we hosted the Honors the honors cookie decorating contest, and it was filled with so many students, laughter, and artistic talent that is definitely one of my staples when I think of my undergraduate career. And of course, I agree with Grace. Research was amazing, and I wouldn't have been here without the knowledge I've gained from that.
I heard about that cookie decorating contest for weeks. The way people spoke about that was remarkable. I mean, it's really memorable. And it's helpful, of course, to share that we have a lot of fun in the honors program. That isn't also accidental. We try to create opportunities for fun so that students understand learning as not only work or something that has to occur in a classroom, but as something that occurs in a community of engaged folks like the honors community and faculty. I mean, I heard the faculty were a hoot at the
Absolutely. They had an amazing time. I saw. They were just joking around.
It's great. Love it. So you touched on this, Sariah, the inclusive environment at Roosevelt. Can you say more about the ways that honors makes that and the Roosevelt University makes an inclusive environment happen? How does it allow for you to grow as a student and a person?
So I would definitely say that this is like a institution where you don't have to like hide your identities and hide your passion about social justice, because I feel like sometimes at other schools it can kind of be alienating when you are so involved in social justice and you do have identities that are seen as minorities. And so like in every class, it's like really normal to just like share your pronouns. And it's really normal to talk about our experiences of like being LGBTQ or being Black and like all of these different things. And then I also think on top of that, like just like the openness of like being able to like share your identities and your experiences. I think the classes that Roosevelt offers also is a lot different from other institutions. Like I'm thinking about my gender justice class or my classes about like world power and culture. Like I never thought that would be a class. And like talking about different themes of like feminism, Black power and culture and things like that. It's just the opportunities that we have with these classes. I feel like it's like on a completely different level and makes you think about social justice, not just in like the theoretical sense, but also like in your own lives and how to apply it later on, like out of school and in your everyday lives.
I can't wait. I know we'll get to some of your out of school life soon. So I love hearing that you find the classes to be inclusive and that the culture prioritizes inclusion for sure. I know how important that is to us on the faculty. I'm glad the students feel it. Grace, how about you? Can you say a bit about the ways the way Roosevelt creates an inclusive environment, the honors program, how it creates an inclusive environment?
Yeah, I feel like this is something I always say to people who ask about my Roosevelt experience or just about people who are interested to come here. I say that everyone I've met in my classes has been nice. I have never been somewhere for so long that I have never run into somebody I didn't like. So I feel like every class I walk into, I'm included right away. I have friends in my class, not because they're my friends, but they're because I am in class with them. And then we automatically just make a connection. And I feel like there's not just judgment. There's not these things that you might be worried about in a different setting. And even in life, I feel like this is just, I'm creating such a good base. So when I do go on out into the world, there's going to be challenges I face, but I know I'm going to have the people that I am at Roosevelt with now, and just even the knowledge that they can give me. And I feel that in Honors 101, that was one of my most influential classes because there was just so many people from different backgrounds, and it wasn't in my major. It was general. There was so many different majors, different paths people were going down. And I just felt that everybody respected and valued each other's opinions, each other's backgrounds, and just the way we approach the material in general. So I just feel like there's such a good amount of diversity and thought in everything else. I just think that I've never, it's always helped my experience here at Roosevelt, and I think it's going to stay with me for a very long time.
I'm thrilled to hear it. I was just talking with a student this week about how if a student doesn't feel embraced in a classroom, the learning suffers. It isn't in addition to learning, it's really a necessary feature of the learning community. And it's something I know that my colleagues on the faculty think about all the time, knowing our students as people, and as students. So we touched on Roosevelt's social justice mission a bit. I thought I'd ask you to say a bit more. Jesus, if you have thoughts about Roosevelt's mission, how it has informed work you've done in the classroom, work you've done out of the classroom, how it has been relevant to you as a student and perhaps maybe even as a graduate student.
Absolutely. And I agree with both Grace and Sariah's comments about the social justice mission in Roosevelt. And so from my perspective, I definitely found that most of my classes and all the coursework involved heavily on the cultural and multicultural approach to basically about anything. My major was psychology, so for that instance, we had to learn a lot about the diversity of psychology and approaches. And so for me, I really found that outside the classroom, to develop my social level perspective so much that no matter what situation I am, all I'm thinking about is how can I advance the efforts of the people, how can I reinforce equality of LGBTQ and people of color, BIPOC. It's just alive. That's just how it is. And before Roosevelt, I was already going towards that direction, but Roosevelt definitely knocked it out of the park. And I just feel stronger as an individual today.
How about you, Sariah? The social justice mission of the university, how do you feel it in your classroom experience? And also, I know you work as an RA, you're very involved on campus in various ways. Of course, you have a life off campus too. How has the mission of the university made an impact on you?
So like one specific moment that I remember in my classes, maybe two of them. So like when there was a protest going on, all my professors would be like, oh, if you want to miss class to go to this protest, you totally can, because that's also important. Like being in class is important, but also like expressing yourself and being a part of such civic engagement is also very important. And then like another example in my classes would be like if there was something that was going on, like a recent event, we would take that time to talk about it and to like dissect it and then bring it back to the classroom as well. And then in like terms of like my involvement on campus, being a resident advisor has allowed me to make all these different programs and events that are specifically geared towards LGBTQ plus residents. And like a really big one that I do every year is like little placard cards outside of everyone's doors that sign up for it that show like your allyship to the LGBTQ plus community, because it's like really big to me that allyship isn't just like a passive thing. It's very much you have to be there every day and you have to express your allyship loudly. And it's also important because it gives the LGBTQ plus residents support and like love that's very overt, and it's not something that is like kind of hidden, because I think love and support should always be at the forefront, especially for people that are in minority groups, because those tend to be the people that don't really see that often.
Amazing examples of how attached, I think, members of the Roosevelt community are to the mission. Having worked at different places in my life, I've never seen a mission that, everyone who works there knows it and is really personally identified with it. I love the examples you shared. Thank you for that. I'd like to actually ask each of you, maybe I'll start with Grace. Why did you join the honors program in particular? I'm curious to know, what have you learned from being in the honors program? You told us about that wonderful experience with Professor Cordero. What drew you to honors in the first place?
So initially, I was looking for an extra academic challenge because every school that I did apply to, I applied to their honors program because I felt taking a lot of honors and AP classes in high school, I thought that would definitely kind of be a continuation of that. But once I got to Roosevelt that I realized that other honors programs, while I don't know exactly what they do, I don't think they do what we do, because there is so much that happens in this honors program that, like, even with that one semester that I wasn't taking an honors course, I felt so engaged and involved in the honors program still. We have a weekly message that goes out about like the roundup. I'm pretty sure you send that out. And I read those, and I feel involved even when I'm not in a specific course. And I found that no matter whichever honors course I do take, no matter which like study it's in, I feel that I just get such like an enriched experience, and I learn so much more, and I just find that there's a different mindset in those classes. And they've also been some of my favorite classes. I took what was it? It was water water with Dr. or Professor Mike Bryson. And I love that class. It was an experiential learning class. And we went on all these trips, and I felt that those were so memorable, not because we went on a trip, but because of all the things I learned. And I learned so much about water. I mean, like, it's a sustainability course, and I didn't realize all that can go behind all that's behind water in the city of Chicago. And it was also like a personalized kind of class because it is in Chicago and I'm from the area. And I found that it was a topic that hit close to home. So I appreciated it, and I think that I would not have gotten that kind of experience outside of an honors course.
I have heard so many things about that water course. It kind of it's the course that keeps on going in terms of the way students talk about it as a sort of constant memory. Jesus, how about you? Why did you join the honors program?
Absolutely. For me, I guess it's more of a personal connection. Is actually, and I told you this before, Marjorie, but one of the biggest reasons why I joined the honors curriculum in RU was by meeting you. And to preface, it was an open house, and it was a very quick, maybe 5-minute conversation. And I came from a community college, and it was very hard for me to afford university, and so I decided to do everything possible. I decided to run for student government. I decided to be involved in so many different clubs and organizations. But very rarely did I ever feel validated for those experiences, especially as well as maintaining high grades. And when I spoke to you that day, that was the most important thing, was to be validated for that hard work I've already maintained, and also that there was opportunity to get involved in leadership and research at RU and in the honors program specifically. And so what did I learn from there is that I've done some naturalistic observations with Dr. Mia Marcus for her class in child psych. I learned how to develop a research paper, which helped me get into even more prestigious programs like the Mcnair Scholars Program and now the Study program. So yeah.
I remember that meeting very well. Sariah, why did you choose honors?
I'm going to kind of echo Grace's answer, because back in high school too, I was very involved in the honors program. I was taking a bunch of AP classes as well. So I wanted to keep up the same academic rigor that I previously had in high school and translate it into college. I think one of the biggest takeaways that I've gotten from the honors program is to love learning and to keep diving into my love of learning. I've always loved learning, and I've always been that student who talks so much in class and asks a bunch of questions. And I feel like in my high school experience and some of the gen ed classes, I would be one of the only people who would be talking and be asking questions and be so involved in the material. But in my honors classes, it's there's 30 of me in one class, and I love that. It is so invigorating to be a part of a program where everyone loves to learn and actually puts in a lot of their effort into learning. And so I feel just the conversations and what I've gotten from my classmates and from my professors is so huge, especially with the professors. In the honors program, you tend to have the same professors, and so you get to build those relationships with those professors. And so just taking away such amazing learning experiences as well as connections with the fellow honors program is very dear to my heart.
Oh, well, it's dear to mine too. So the three of you are really interesting, accomplished, involved human beings and students. And so I thought we'd have some questions where we could learn a little bit more about you individually. And I'd like to begin with you, Grace, because you are a college athlete. And that is a massive commitment and identity and sort of anchor. And so I thought I would ask, how do you balance your tennis with your honors coursework and all your coursework, really?
I think that's an answer of more how my relationships at Roosevelt and outside Roosevelt have kind of shaped me as a person. I feel that I have played competitive tennis since I was 12, I started tennis at 10 and I started competitive at 12. And I found that I had such a love for the sport and I just wanted to work as hard as I could to get better. And I had done a few things before that and I never wanted to work as hard for it. But then I call it my thing. So I found my thing and I just want to put in all the work I possibly can to it. I'm dedicated. I work hard for it. And I tell people that none of it came from talent. I'm athletic, but I'm not a tennis player. I wasn't born a tennis player. So I've had to put in everything that you see on the court is what I've worked for. So I feel even more proud because I didn't have natural talent, but I made my own talent, I feel. And so with being on the tennis team in college, which was my main goal growing up, was to play for a school, a university for tennis. And I feel that it has provided like a foundation for me to succeed in my academics. So for me, I found that during the pandemic, the courts by my house were locked and it was just awful for me. I was not able to do the thing that kind of keeps me not grounded, but keeps me happy and focused. And, it really does guide my life. And I didn't really realize how much of an impact it had on my life until I didn't have it for only a few weeks. But I was realizing, wow, this really drives me to succeed in other areas of my life. So having it at school and being able to participate on the team, it helps with my academics. So balancing the courses, which was your overall question, I kind of went on a tangent, but I find that besides them going together, making it easier just because I'm passionate about both, I find that just the mindset that I grew up with being hardworking and dedicated. My grandpa was a Marine and my family is very, discipline oriented. I feel that has definitely helped me just because I have been able to stay on track with my schoolwork. But it's also the professors and advisors, Sarah Maria, and all the other professors are so inviting when you need help or when you're going to miss a class because you have a tournament or a match. They help you make up the material. They are completely understanding. And I feel like they have allowed me to pursue academics and athletics at the same time. I was never forced to put one to the side. I feel that they're growing together and I've always appreciated that. And I just think it's a matter of mindset, but also the support system I have around me. So very long answer, but I think I got to my point in the end.
You did. It was a great answer. And I love hearing that you feel so supported in both realms about the other, right? I mean, I know I've chatted you up about tennis a lot, being a fan myself, and that in your tennis environment, you're getting a lot of academic support. That's what more could you ask for, right? Than to have those two areas of your life complement each other. So Sariah, I know very well because we are in the class together that you are starting to imagine your honors senior thesis. And this is the capstone project that all students in the honors program complete in their final year. They spend a semester starting to imagine it, and then they spend the next semester executing the project. So you're in that first semester, so I know it's still coming together. But what are the ideas that you find yourself fascinated by the most? Can you tell us a little bit about what you imagine exploring in your honors senior thesis?
So because of my honors class with Sandra Frank back in my sophomore year, and that was a class about pop culture and world power, I became super fascinated with history as well as culture. And so with this thesis that I'm thinking about, The direction that I'm going in is about the sensationalization of Black people's like death. And so I'm doing maybe a historical comparison between the 1920s and like lynchings, and then to now with either the death penalty or the sensationalization, English, of the brutality, like police brutality videos, and how they are circulated and then how they are both consumed by the audiences. So that's kind of the direction that I'm going in. I'm like really fascinated in how African American death is like, perceived and consumed as somewhat of a form of entertainment throughout America's history, which also I think lends to the point of like how Black people can be very dehumanized throughout our society, and not seen as like really humans, but seen as objects to then like view and consume.
Well, that was an excellent summary too. I know, because when we see each other every week, each week students in the honors, the pre-thesis class, you know, the descriptions get better and better, right? More and more rich and detailed. I love that your thesis project is inspired by or motivated by or grown from an honors course that you took back in the day. So that's really what we hope happens. We hope that questions get sparked in your classes that don't end when the semester ends, that you find ways to keep exploring critically, intellectually, through research, through your own analysis, the same questions that might have been like, you know, starting to percolate in the back of your mind as a sophomore. Now they're getting this really sophisticated treatment as a graduating history major. So I cannot wait to see that project come together and take shape. And we will all learn about it in April when you defend it. How about you, Jesus? A question for you. So, what about your experience as an undergrad encouraged you to return to Roosevelt and enroll in the Doctor of Psychology program?
Of course. No, I should preface that when I applied, that was like peak pandemic. And I say this because, especially for psychology, already being very competitive, it was exacerbatedly more competitive during the pandemic because everyone thought about their life decisions and wanted to go back to school. I was offered a few positions, one of which was in Florida. It was a clinical psychology program, and it would have required me to get up and move and have an amazing life experience. However, I found myself very familiar with RU. I found myself to develop very strong professional relationships with so many faculty members and peers who stayed behind. And so I guess for that reason, I felt so comfortable. I knew that I would not be a fish out of water. And I know that their program was so good, especially as a PsyD program in Chicago. And that's my input.
Fantastic. I remember the thesis that you wrote and the way that launched you. And I know you're also working in the Mcnair Scholars Program. The way the work you were doing as an honors undergrad kind of seamlessly allowed you to apply to graduate programs. So when we talk about the honors experience, we are talking about an undergraduate experience because it's an undergraduate program. But of course, it is meant to also be a launch pad into the next chapter. And so we're just so thrilled that your next chapter is here at Roosevelt. That's super. All right. So questions again for everyone. I'd love to ask each of you to reflect and tell us a bit about your plans for life after Roosevelt. Tell us what you're thinking about. I know some of you are closer to that than others, but what are your next steps if you know them? And also to think about and talk about how the honors program has helped you reach those goals. Maybe Sariah, you can kick that off.
So I have already something lined up after graduation, which I'm so grateful to have. So this past January, February-ish, I applied to Teach for America, and I got in June. So I am going to be an English teacher, a secondary English teacher, middle school or high school, in Phoenix, Arizona, starting in June. So as soon as I graduate, I'm going to be moving out to Arizona. Super excited. And definitely, like, without the honors program, I can probably 99% say I probably would not have gotten into Teach for America. Marjorie, you helped me with my application, which was so needed. Thinking about my first draft to my second draft, and all the times that we talked and how it progressed into the application that it actually was so amazing. And I'm so grateful that you were so helpful with me. And then as well as David Ferris, he was one of my recommendationers. And I have been working with him since my freshman year because of the honors program as well. So that's just another example of how our close relationships with our professors can then help us go on to the next steps in our lives. And I feel as well, the honors program is helping me prepare for graduate school, because as well with Teach for America, I will be getting my master's at Arizona State University. So I feel the learning that we do is very helpful in graduate school as well.
Congratulations again. That is such a triumph. And it's a pleasure when students say, hey, can I send you my application? Will you give it a look? It is a true pleasure to consult and to be helpful however we can be. And I think it also helps to normalize for honor students that we draft, we revise, that perfection is not what we are after. It's about improving, asking new questions, getting feedback, learning to ask and receive feedback and incorporate it, which you do so beautifully in your work. So congratulations again on that great success. Grace, you might not have a exactly mapped out plan. I know you still have a little bit of time, but have you given thought to life after your undergrad at Roosevelt?
I have. So I've been a tennis coach for 6 years, and that has been another thing that has really transformed my life into, hopefully it's going to influence what I do later in life. As of right now, I want to become a pediatrician or a pediatric ER doctor, and I'd love to go to medical school straight out of undergrad. I'm actually taking the MCAT this spring, so studying is definitely going on, and wanting to go to medical school, I found that I definitely have to prepare sooner than I ever thought I would have to. I thought everything would kind of just fall into place like it did when I was applying to undergrad. And I realized there was a lot more to do than just applying at the end of my senior year. There's a lot of preparing, a lot of things. So I am just really honing in on my focus of wanting to get the best grades I possibly can in my classes, learn as much as I possibly can, and really just have the resolve and the drive to pursue that route. I know it's going to be a long journey, and I really think that in the end, my love for working with children is it's one of my favorite things to do, and I really want to do it for the rest of my life. And I also have a passion for medicine and science, and I just think combining the two, this is just such a clear direction that I want to go, that's what I'm planning on doing. And I feel that with the honors program, similar to what Sariah said, I have not asked for any consultation yet, but I know I will when I have my personal statement. And there's so many things to come. But I know that there are so many sources I can go to within the school, within the honors program. And I feel that I'm not dreading all the work that's to be done still, because I do know that I have that support system. So while it's going to be a long journey, I am not afraid.
Wow. So I love the pediatrician idea as the merging of those two loves. And I love hearing that you're not, that you're more excited than anxious about the project of getting to that next step. And that's appropriate, because we are here to support you every step of the way and read your personal statement and provide feedback and suggestions. So Jesus, you're maybe a little closer to what you want to do after life after Roosevelt in a way. What are your concrete, specific career goals? As you know, speaking as someone who's in training for them right now.
Yeah, well, after Roosevelt, it's more Roosevelt. See, I got 4 more years to go, and I guess specific career goals wise, absolutely, counseling is a thing, right? I do imagine myself eventually professing, preferably community colleges. I love the vibe there, and it was really awesome. But most importantly, it's probably going to be activism as well. All these positions that I've trained myself for and happily have gone into is all to aid me into that one goal of being well educated and having all this privilege, but also using it and applying it into my own communities. And so those are my top 3 things to do. And right now, in the next 2 or 3 years, I have to decide what my specific, I guess, like field of interest would be. I know that I would rather prefer to work with adults, even emerging adults, trying to help with those identities that could be extremely stressful if you take in consideration minority stress theories and just apply more feminist theories as well to, I think, a very important generation of people that are just growing into themselves.
What a Rooseveltian answer, that you want to do this academic and clinical work and also do activist work, that you don't see a strong division between those things, is such a Rooseveltian response, as I said. Okay, lastly, this is our final question before we open it up to Q&A. What would you like to say to Roosevelt's donors, whose generosity provides resources to support students? Sariah?
So I would like to say like a huge thank you. Like words could not even describe how thankful I am for donors at Roosevelt University, because there's been definitely a few times throughout my Roosevelt career where I was a little nervous about being able to attend. College can be very expensive, and there would be points where like I'd look into my financial aid and I got a scholarship from a donor, and like that's what helped me stay into school. So like I am just eternally grateful, because without donors, I would not be able to like continue my academic career at Roosevelt University. So,
Yes, thank you for that. Grace, anything you'd like to say to our donors?
Just like Sariah said, she said it perfectly. Words cannot express how grateful I am. I know the rest of the honors program is, probably the whole school is, because without these donations, I mean, I'm coming here on generous scholarships, and that was a huge factor that played into where I chose to go to school. And I would never have had these opportunities or these experiences that I've had, only being 20 years old and starting my 3rd year of college, without the donors. So I appreciate so much the generous donations that have been given to the school. And there was actually a donation that has helped STEM students, and I'm directly going to benefit from that donation. So I never take for granted any of these things that have been given to us, because this whole community Roosevelt's community is just always grateful. I can speak for, I think, the entire university on that.
Lovely, thank you. Jesus, what would you like to say to our donors?
Sure thing. Thank you to the donors who help make these experiences possible. Your contributions allow for students like all of us to enhance their learning and professional opportunities. Your generosity aids in the provision of dedicated faculty and staff who work days and nights to support students in their academic and career goals. And our stories are only ones of thousands that you are actively involved in creating.
So we have a great question from the chat that's sort of a follow-up to this question. So what can alumni and donors do to further support you and other students beyond or aside from giving financially? Maybe I'll start, Sariah, because I saw you nodding. If you have thoughts about this, I'll repeat the question. What can alumni and donors do to further support you and other students beyond or aside from giving financially?
I think mentorship is so big. So I would definitely say trying to get involved into like the professional mentoring program if you can, or also I'm a part of the Joan de Herzig Scholars, and so we also have mentors through that program as well, and that was also a program that was afforded to Roosevelt University through a donation. So I say definitely mentorship is probably one of the biggest things that you all can do aside from like financially to support Roosevelt students.
Great answer. The more models that students have to see how to do professional life, adult life, not that you're not adults, but you know what I mean. The more models that we can get and networks we can build, the better positioned you are for whatever comes next. Here's a question. How do you ensure that you carry Roosevelt's mission forward? Grace, I wonder if you have thoughts about that. How do you ensure that you'll carry Roosevelt's mission forward?
Honestly, I think that there isn't a clear-cut answer for this almost. I think that it's just the compilation of experiences I've had that have changed me as a person. I feel that I was a completely different person coming into undergrad, and I'm going to be a completely different person coming out of it. So I think that just me being an improved person and an improved student, an improved learner is going to help me be a better member of society. So I think it's more just the experiences that we go through here and the challenges that we face and the triumphs that we have, that's what shapes us.
So speaking of the experiences you have, I know Sariah mentioned the Joan Deutsch Herzig Fellowship. I'm curious, Jesus, maybe you could say a bit about the Mcnair Scholars Program. So Roosevelt University has services and resources available to students that students benefit from dramatically. And so I'm curious, maybe Jesus, you could tell us a bit about what you learned from Mcnair.
That's a big question. And the reason why is because I have so much to say. It's that if you have the opportunity to apply to Mcnair Scholars Program, absolutely do it. And the only reason I really found out about it was because faculty and staff actually motivated me to do it. As a first generation low-income Latino male, I was surprised to find that such a resource exists on a national scale. And so while I was there, I was fortunate enough to be selected as one of the students. And it was like a meaningful environment to be in because I was surrounded by other like-minded individuals who wanted to go to graduate school. And so we'd all be there and assisting each other and working alongside each other to apply to at least a minimum of 10 universities or programs across the US. And the amount of drafts I had to make for my personal statement because of Peggy Valdez, the former director, my God, it was a lot of work. I'm telling you, it was like 12 drafts, and that's what they're there for. And they help you financially. They help place you in research opportunities, sometimes even out of state. But unfortunately, COVID was like, all right, online only. Either way, it was still a very rewarding experience.
I love hearing that. And we do have a close relationship in the honors program with the Mcnair Scholars Program. We have so many students who are in both programs. We have similar goals. And so it's such a pleasure in the honors program to watch up close students who receive that kind of support and mentoring and sort of professional development in programs like Mcnair and the Joan Deutsch Herzig Fellowship and many, many other, the SSS STEM programs. I mean, the ways that Roosevelt has committed to supporting our students with targeted programs to meet very specific needs is something I'm so proud. I'm so proud to work at a university that invests in students in this way. As we get close to wrapping up, I wanted to answer one question that appeared in the chat about the honors program. Someone asked, how do students qualify for the honors program? And the answer to that is they apply. So we have a holistic application process. It is not simply you need to have this GPA. We look for students who can express what they love about learning and what they're excited by, both personally and academically and intellectually, what really excites them. we look for students who love to learn. That's really what we're all about. And then we work to create the conditions for the students to really soar in the honors courses and the co-curricular opportunities that we offer. So students who are interested in applying to the honors program are welcome to email me. They can also email honors@roosevelt.edu. Very easy to remember. You can go to our website, which is roosevelt.edu/honors. And we'd be happy to tell you about the requirements, what the curriculum looks like, what the expectations are. There are some minor eligibility details that we can go over, mostly having to do with how much longer you plan to be at Roosevelt so that you can complete the program. But the short answer is we are a holistic program that looks at the whole student, and we welcome everyone in the honors program. Maybe we can wrap up with one last way to close things out. What are 3 or 4 words that define your Roosevelt experience? Maybe we can start with Sariah. Are there a small handful of words you would use to describe Roosevelt University?
I would say community-oriented, invigorating, as well as inclusive.
Nice. Jesus, 3 words or 4.
I'm gonna go with 4, just because it spells out a word. Challenging, accepting, rewarding, and energizing.
All right. All right, Grace. You're going to have the last word here, or last words. What are some words you would use to describe your Roosevelt University experience?
I'm going to do 5 because there's a hyphen.
Overachiever. Always overachieving.
Fulfilling, inspiring, life-changing, and transformative.
I am inspired learning about how the 3 of you are inspired. Thank you so, so much. Jesus, Sariah, and Grace, thank you for participating in today's event and for sharing your Roosevelt experience with our audience and your honors program experience with our audience. You're all tremendous examples of Roosevelt's mission and commitment to student success. And to our donors and audience, I sincerely thank you for the impact you've made in the lives of not only today's panelists, but all Roosevelt students. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.